Welcome to Co-op Mode, round 26. This is the official video game podcast of Secret Friends Unite. I'm your host, Todd Oxtra, joined by my co-host and producer extraordinaire, Mark Carabin. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Excellent.
We are both in the throes of the Arctic tundra, surviving, but we're staying warm by playing video games and shoveling snow.
Yeah, shoveling snow definitely keeps the blood flowing. Although it sounds a little counterintuitive because you're outside in the cold. But yeah, the action of shoveling immense amounts of snow definitely warms you up. Yeah, and there's apparently more coming tomorrow, so it's just the never-ending hot winter. It's fantastic.
Yes, it makes us appreciate summer in Minnesota and the far reaches of Atlantis in the winter.
Yes. Yeah. It's hard to swim when the water's all frozen.
It kind of is. I mean, ice fishing is a thing people do. I do not.
Yep.
But it's very popular. It gets a little bit dangerous at the end of the winter because people leave trucks on the ice and they go in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all you always hear about that. At least once a year towards the spring, it's this truck fell in, this car fell in, or worse, this person fell in. But yeah, it's definitely a common occurrence.
Yeah. So it's been about 2 weeks since we talked, and I wanted to bring something up, Mark, because this made me think about it. We'll talk about video game delays, but one video game delay that's happening that we talked about, a game we're excited about, is Gods and Monsters. And this made my brain churn. And I thought, what if this game is actually revealed at E3 at Ubisoft's booth, and someone from Nintendo shows up? Oh, I don't know, maybe like someone called Sakurai. And this game is actually a Kid Icarus game.
Oh, you think they're rebranding, reworking it to fit more into a Nintendo IP?
I think it could work because they've already shown they can work well together. I think Rabbids and plus Mario was successful, and I think people want to see franchises on the Switch that are exclusive from third-party members. I think this is a great way to do it. Obviously the thought of, this looks like Breath of the Wild. Well, if Nintendo's involved, maybe they can take an alternate approach to it. I thought that was kind of a cool idea. It's obviously just a fever dream on my part, but considering we've seen nothing of this game, really, there's nothing to say it couldn't.
I think that's a really interesting idea, and there's been a lot of talk about Starlink lately, where it was on sale over the holidays, and people were wondering if for $7 the physical edition would make the charts, for the sales charts. I don't think it did, but for that price, like I sent a copy to my nephew just because I thought he'd dig the kind of spaceship aspect of it and Star Fox and whatever. But I could see them doing something like that because they have announced that this game's coming to everything. So I wonder if it would be bad on them to pull it back and say, no, you know what, we were JKing, LOL, it's not coming to PS3 or PS4 and Xbox One and PS5 and Super Xbox and wherever. But what if the Nintendo version was that definitive version, just like Starlink, that came with something extra, that came with that Kid Icarus skin, that extra missions, whatever, that kind of tied it into a Nintendo IP, just kind of like Starlink did? I think that could be a really cool approach if they didn't want to go full out of, we're canceling this on other platforms. It's going to be a Nintendo exclusive. We're reskinning the whole thing, like Star Fox Adventures or something like that. But that could be a really cool approach too. I think there's a couple of ways to do that, but I would definitely get that game on Switch over Xbox if that were the case.
I like our collaboration because you put out something I totally forgot. Yes, this is coming out to every console, so yeah, it puts a fly in the ointment of doing this for everybody. But to your point, the version of Starlink that people really talked about was the Nintendo version, and having that extra content and the specific focus on Star Fox in a version people were really happy with. This is even better, Mark. So thank you. And the fact now that, Starlink came out, what, 2 years ago? And, got reduced in price and everything like that. But now look how big the Switch is and how many people could play that game now. I think it's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, I mean, Starlink definitely had its own problems. The Toys to Life thing, I think, was kind of botched because it was. I don't know about you, but here the extra ships and stuff were a little hard to find. I think maybe slightly overpriced, whatever, and who wants a bunch of toys of generic spaceships that you don't really have any attachment to? I think if they expanded that and it was, let's say, Star Wars or more heavily into Star Fox or something like that, they could have done more. And the game had its own little problems of frustrating, weird little hiccups and stuff. But overall, I thought it was an interesting idea. And I think without a Toys to Life aspect and just have different versions, similar to what was the fighting game with Link in it, and that was the best one. Soul
Calibur. Yeah.
That extra little push would, I think, be really interesting. And I mean, you could do that with the other consoles and have someone from Xbox or someone specific to PlayStation or something like that. Throw in someone from Uncharted into it and have them kind of explore or whatever. So there are interesting ways to do it without just putting it just on Nintendo. But I think having a definitive edition on Nintendo with that could be really, really cool.
Yeah, I love that. Every version having a unique thing that happens on their console, I think it could be fantastic. So I guess we'll see. I just thought that was a cool idea. Obviously, we'll talk more about delays going on, but I mean, I hope when that game does get reintroduced, that I think I hope the delay was worth it, and we are excited to play that this year. So Mark, we're gonna, we have not been playing a lot. We didn't talk about what we were playing last week, but I mean, we should really re-engage on that. So what have you been playing? What's been keeping you occupied?
The newest thing, I guess, is Astral Chain. I picked this up over just after the holidays, after I got some eShop cards and that kind of stuff. And I can't remember if I mentioned it last time that I had just purchased it and I'm going to get more into it. But I've been putting some time into Astral Chain and really enjoying it. Kind of sad that I missed it the first time around, but glad that I'm playing it now when I don't have too much else on my plate and I can really enjoy it for what it is. It is an anime-ass kind of game. It is off the wall. The things just don't make sense, and you just have to say, okay, that's how this is, or okay, that pseudo-scientific anime explanation of what's going on here is just what I need to accept to enjoy this game. And once you do that, though, it is so much fun, and I'm really enjoying it. The combat's really solid. The story, like I said, even though it is super anime-esque, is enjoyable. It's a really solid game, and a Nintendo exclusive that I think a lot of people may have missed. I've been seeing a lot of people talk about this lately and say, hey, I'm finally getting around to Astral Chain. I'm finally checking this out. So it seems like I'm not the only one in this, hey, I missed this mindset. And I don't know, man, it's really solid. So if you haven't checked it out, and you're looking for a good Switch exclusive, this is the one.
Yeah, I really want to play it. It's on my pile of shame. I played a little bit on GameFly, and I'm like, oh, I want to try other games. So I sent it back. I think it's a perfect game that they just need to get a sale on. It wasn't on sale really over the holidays, so I think if they can get a good price, $20 or $30, I think is the right price point for this game, because I think it's not, an epic game, but it is a platinum game.
Yes, yeah, very much so. When I look at things like something I'm considering buying this weekend, if right now, the Devil May Cry series, the first two games are available on Switch, and just in general, they're discounted 25%. But if you pre-order Devil May Cry 3, you can get the other two for 50% off each. And those kind of price points, I think they're in Canada anyway, like $25 a piece, maybe. So I think a little bit more than that would still be a sweet point for Astral Chain, but for those kind of prices, the Devil May Cry series is incredibly enticing right now. And I was actually thinking about picking up Call of Duty Modern Warfare and starting to get into that, because I've heard some people say some really, really good things about that, and with the cross play and all that kind of stuff, it seems enticing. But Devil May Cry might be pulling my wallet a little bit in that direction this weekend. So it's we'll see what distracts me for the next couple of weeks. But right now it's Astral Chain. I have been playing a tiny little bit more of Pokemon, just I guess a little hyped up after the expansion pass was announced, the DLC. I haven't pre-ordered the DLC, but I wanted to fire up Pokemon again and just kind of go through and kind of keep leveling up my team and play around with my team and see which Pokemon I've missed and go try to catch them all, basically. So I'm dipping a little bit back into that too. What about you? What have you been playing?
Well, I will give you a warning on Devil May Cry 2, Mark. It is a horrible game. It's not good.
Oh, okay.
Everybody acknowledges it's like the worst game. It was a response. They were not ready for Devil May Cry's success, and they basically rushed out the sequel, which I don't even think it was supposed to be a Devil May Cry game. So 3 is great, 4 is great. 2 is the misstep of the series. So
that's hilarious, because I was actually thinking about pre-ordering 3 and just buying 1. And that was just because I had never played 2. So I was like, well, I don't really have the nostalgia for this game. I don't know. Maybe after I finish 1, I'll want to play it. But I don't know. I just kind of want Devil May Cry 1 again, and then like pre-order 3 because, I don't know, like just basically to get the discount. And yeah, so that was I was thinking about skipping 2 anyway. So that's a really good recommendation. Thank you for backing up my my thoughts.
You are welcome, sir. And actually, I just got Call of Duty in the mail from GameFly. I played essentially the first level of it. Before I could play it, though, there was an 85 gigabyte patch.
What?
Be prepared, my friend. Be prepared. Yes. I don't know if it was the like 4K assets. I don't know what was driving that, or if it's like new modes or something like that they brought out since it launched. But I saw that, but it wouldn't even let me play it without that.
How big is that game in general? I have to look this up now.
It's. I remember this game was supposed to be like 100 gigabytes or something when it launched or something like that. But that's kind of crazy. So just be prepared if you get it. Wow. I don't know. I don't even know if you can. I wish what you could do was pre-install all the updates before you get a game.
Well, that's one of the things that didn't they say coming to the next generation? You can pick and choose which parts of the game you can can install, and if you just want to play multiplayer, you can install that first and let the other stuff load later. So that's going to be a very welcome addition.
Yeah, because quite honestly, I was probably just going to play the single player, although I heard the new mode that's 2 versus 2 sounds like it's a lot of fun. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so I just played a little bit. It's beautiful. It's a really beautiful game. So thank you, 4K assets, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's great. It just feels like Call of Duty doing what it does really well in a single player campaign. I've played it for maybe like 30 minutes. So that probably means I have an hour left because those campaigns are super short. But it's cool. It's fun. I like it. Logan was watching me play, and he asked me if he could play, and I'm like, it's mature. There's some themes in this that I heard not exactly great for kids, so he will not be playing it. But he watched me play a little bit, just the intro levels. So, but that's about all I can say right now. I'll be playing more, and I will focus on this game as my next game. I will be working through. So if you get it too, we can compare notes.
Absolutely, yeah. I might pick that up, and I just looked it up. Xbox One store is confirming the approximate size of the game is 138.66 gigabytes. Holy crap.
Ouch, my data cap.
Wow, that's a big game.
It is a big game. And depending if you have a data cap, if you have a data cap, I mean, that could be like maybe a quarter of your internet for the month.
Yeah. So get that on physical if you're worried, but even with that patch,
with physical, Mark,
that much.
Yeah, with physical, I put it in. It's still got to install on your hard drive, and then it downloads. So it's the disc is a myth, really, at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, if it's wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. The other game I finally beat was Jedi Fallen Order. I enjoyed the game a lot, but my biggest criticism with this game was the fact that it wasn't paced well. I felt like the game finally picked up when I felt like I was almost halfway through or three-quarters of the way through.
I'd say
The
closer to
story,
three-quarters, yeah.
yeah, the story, an additional character that seemed kind of cool, didn't join you until almost the last mission.
Yep.
And the emergence of another character who my son spoiled for me, thanks son, because he beat it first, was awesome as well.
Yep.
But I do how they left it open-ended. I like the fact that you got the dual-bladed lightsaber, the fact that you can separate and use as attack. I really enjoyed the flexibility of your weapons. I didn't get all of the Jedi powers because Logan told me the actual lightsaber throw wasn't really worth it. I'm like, okay, I'll take what you say because it's like three power-ups or 3 skill points. So, yeah, but I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see next. And I hope what they do next. Also, if you find things, it's not all just cosmetics. I want to find cool stuff. I don't want another poncho or color of poncho or color of my ship. That's kind of like felt me like, not really worth it.
Yeah, the ponchos I thought were kind of a weird choice because the original costume was so cool and didn't cover basically your whole body up with a poncho. And I thought it was cool being able to see, you know, as he got the rebreather, the whatever you call it when you can breathe underwater, like that attached to his back. But when you covered it with a poncho, you couldn't really see these additional things being added to your character. So it kind of took away and caused some weird things that way. So I'll definitely agree on the poncho things. I've heard a lot of people complain about the basically the cosmetic upgrades and the things that you find. And I really enjoyed them. But I think it may have been specifically because all of the lightsaber pieces were pieces from Galaxy's Edge. So if you've gone and built your own lightsaber in Disney World or Disneyland, then the pieces you're finding in the game are pieces that you're familiar with. So I could kind of recreate my own personal lightsaber in this game. But if you haven't done that, most likely you don't really care. You know, you're upgrading a lightsaber and adding these pieces that don't have any personal meaning to you. So you're like, okay, well, the lightsaber that you start with is kind of cool looking. So why do I care if I can modify it a bit with these weird looking pieces? So it's, I never really thought about that because I was just going through and being like, oh my God, I really want to find the elemental nature emitter, or I really want to find this or that. And I was loving that aspect of it. And it wasn't until I stepped back and was like, oh, right. Like, out of the amount of people that are playing this game, there's probably a very small number who have done the lightsaber building in Galaxy's Edge. And it's probably not as special for those people. It's probably like I'm thinking of, oh, who cares? It's another poncho. Like, if you extend that to the entire collectible thing in the game, then yeah, the collectibles are kind of tedious and annoying.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a sequel, then they'll say maybe what you can do with your lightsaber isn't just cosmetics, but it's also giving them extra features, and it's like a buff and a debuff. So if you do this, it's going to do less of this, or maybe it has different features. Maybe a lightsaber nunchuck combination. Just made that up. Sorry, but you know, just get crazy and wacky with it. Why not? Because that would be cool. That's just my thought. Or maybe like a lightsaber pole or something where it's a long pole but has a lightsaber at the end so you have longer reach. I don't know.
Yeah, the lightsaber pikes basically from the Jedi Temple Guard. We see those. There's a lot of different stuff that they could do with the lightsabers for sure. Spinning lightsabers like the Inquisitors had.
Oh yeah.
You know, there's a lot of stuff that you can do with lightsabers that can have those kind of trade-offs, and in a game like this, you know, one might be slower to swing, and that's one thing that I found that they didn't do well in this game was, and I think I mentioned this to you once you got the double-bladed lightsaber, was they don't tell you explicitly in the game, but the double-bladed saber is not as powerful as the single blade. It's made more for crowd control when there's a big crowd. It's a little faster, but not as powerful. So switch back to the single blade if you're really trying to do some damage. And they don't explicitly tell you that in the game, which I thought was kind of weird. But speaking of lightsabers, if you're new to this game or still playing through it, there's apparently a patch that opens up the pre-order bonuses, so you can now get your orange lightsaber blade that I had to pre-order the game to get.
That is awesome. I mean, it gives you another reason to come back if you really love the game and wanted to get all those extra things. So this is, and it's perfect because it doesn't, the people that pre-order it, you know, yeah, they're going to say, well, why should they get it? I mean, it's not about that. You got it first. You got to enjoy it.
Yep.
It's great that you don't lock behind money or something else either, because people are going to continue to buy this game later on.
Yeah, as someone who pre-ordered the game and was happy to get the extra features and all that kind of stuff, I literally don't care that it's unlocked for everyone. I just want people to enjoy this game and try it out. And if those pre-order bonuses are what entices someone to pick up the game and experience it now, because I still think it's a fantastic Star Wars story, even though it does definitely pick up in the last quarter or the last third of the game. I want people to experience this. So if an orange lightsaber is the thing that entices you, go crazy. It's unlocked now.
Absolutely. Last thing, and I won't go too long into it this week because I think there's more to talk about this. And we are talking about having a special guest in a few weeks who can probably talk more about this because he's a little bit addicted to VR, and that is Oculus Quest. I got it. My son really wanted this, but I told him I don't know how much I'll use it. So if you could get half of the money, I will put the other half towards it. And he succeeded. So we have the Oculus Quest. We had to get the I guess 128 gigabyte version because it was the only one available on Best Buy. We got it last week, and it is a lot of fun. It's so immersive. Just even the setup is it's just a visual treat. The way they coax you into it, get you used to it, is just so much fun. So you're not overwhelmed. And it's so flexible. I mean, yes, this is not as powerful as the Rift or the Valve Index or Vive, but it's not meant to be. But they just introduced the Oculus Link, which connects this wireless VR headset to your PC that is VR capable, and it gives you essentially the Rift experience. So it's two for the price of one. And people are saying this is kind of the death knell for Rift because what's the point of getting Rift? Because it's essentially the same price and does the same thing, plus it's portable. The portable nature of this is awesome, Mark. I mean, to feel like you aren't tugging at something or restricted. Now, you are restricted by the space you play in. And but the cool part, it has this neat feature where you can actually see through it through the exterior cameras. It shows you your area, and you mark with the Oculus Quest touch controllers the area you will play in. So you mark basically where all of the things are, like a chair, a cat, a staircase, or whatever, so you don't fall off. And if you get close to it, the barriers show up in front of you.
That is so cool.
It's so cool, and it remembers, and it remembers the last time. Oh, that's where you were, and we're going to make sure that's where you still want to be. It's got a cool part where a lot of problems with VR headsets is they call it the OD, the ocular distance. So basically, are your eyes farther apart or are they closer together? Some do not let you adjust it. This fully lets you adjust it, so it really works for a 14-year-old kid like my son who's had smaller. Can work for a very large person. So that's a really great experience because that's been a problem with some people where the OD is limited. So that was easy to do. The sound's cool. So basically you don't have any headset, but the sound that's coming from it is adequate and works well. But you can also put on you can connect a headset to it if you want to, and it's really easy to do that. Yeah, it works really well. I love it. And the little the Oculus Touch controllers, what I will say what this puts this above PlayStation VR is the actual inputs. PlayStation VR is the worst input system with the Move controllers. It's horrible. Yeah. This, though, makes you feel like you are actually using your fingers, all of your fingers, the way it detects where they're at, the way you're gripping things, and it feels very natural. It's very cool. And then also the other part that I didn't know is this utilizes Chromecast to cast what you're viewing on the screen to another screen. My TV has Chromecast built in. So you basically find a Chromecast device that's showing up and you just cast it to it. So I can see when my son is playing Beat Saber or something like that. It's so that's cool. I love it. And the Oculus Link does work. I didn't think it was going to work with my PC because my PC is not on the actual official supported, although it's listed as something that potentially could work eventually. It's a laptop 1060 GTX. So it's one of those, but it works. So I love it. It worked. We tried it with Steam VR. We tried it with other things.
Wow.
My son was playing Minecraft within it. So
Oh, that's cool.
it was neat. And my friend is coming over tomorrow with his young son. And he is so excited to check this out. So I can't wait to try it. Warning, they do not want anyone younger than the age of 13 using this. So buyer beware. But as long as I would say a parent is approving it for their child, it is what it is. so I told him, my friend, that I said, if you want to send on to try it, it's fine, but you have to allow him. I'm not going to just give it to him. So
Right.
other than that, I mean, I just cannot say enough cool things about it. I'll talk about the games another day, but
Okay.
I will say the fact that this came with Vader Immortal, Mark, for free.
Yeah.
Seeing Darth Vader like 2 feet away from me and looking up is awesome, and I can't wait to see what this looks like with Oculus Link with the upgraded graphic experience and fidelity, because people have said it will blow your mind, and they do a lot of without link, with link, without link, with link, just to see the difference. And I can't wait to see it either, because yes, I would say the graphics feel like it's closer to like an Xbox 360 game than it is a 4K high fidelity experience, and that's just because it is what it is, and I'm acceptance of that.
Right.
But with the Oculus Link, though, that's going to take a lot of that heavy lifting away.
That is so cool. I can't wait to hear more about this.
Yeah, and I don't know if I can capture anything. Obviously, I sent a video of my son playing it, but watching anyone do VR from just not knowing what they're doing, but seeing them do it, you just look dumb. But
Yep, for sure.
It's really cool. Yeah, so we'll talk about that more about that later. But we need to now pivot to the news, Mark. We've got a news flash. First story, though. This is really exciting. This one blew my mind, actually. Should be very important to you. Canadian hero Doug Flutie has a video game, football game.
Fantastic.
Did you know about this?
I did not. No. Doug, before you sent me this, I had no idea that Doug Flutie's Maximum Football 2019 Championship Edition was a thing. So that's something. Madden, watch out. Flutie's coming for you.
It's $20, Mark. So this is a high-end product.
Yeah. It definitely not a bargain bin football challenger. There's some quality stuff.
Woo! It's by Maximum Games. You trust Maximum Games for their quality experiences. So, folks, watch out for that. So
yeah,
bizarre.
sounds really fun.
I guess they couldn't get the CFL license.
Maybe next time. Maybe next year. They'll prove themselves this year, and next year it'll be Doug Flutie's CFL Spectacular.
Ooh, my goodness.
2020.
I mean, in what we'll get the best of the Rough Riders.
Oh, of course, yes. Yeah.
Are there 2 Rough Riders teams?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's yeah. Oh man, who was joking about that recently? I think you're right.
Good thing. I mean, good times when you've got one league with 2 teams of the same name. It's awesome. So, Mark, yeah. I want you to give me your take on Delayarama 2020.
Oh man. Well, yeah, we didn't really see this coming, but this was kind of the week of delays, wasn't it? So we've got what do we have now? So Cyberpunk is delayed. Doom Eternal got a little bit delayed. They're going to be launching on the same day as Animal Crossing. I think we've talked about that already. If you don't feel like hanging out with some cute animals and that kind of stuff, you can go kill everything in sight. So very, very different games there. Man, what else has gotten delayed? Avengers just got delayed as well. So that was supposed to be in May. All of these delays are being pushed back to December for Cyberpunk.
Oh, I thought that was
Avengers.
a September game.
They're delayed until September now.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, those are Yeah, so it seems like to me, a couple of these big games that we were looking forward to playing this spring now being delayed into the fall. It's kind of causing this weird problem of we now know a little bit of what's going into the fall. Obviously, we'll have new console releases. Will these games kind of get a little overlooked because of the new consoles? Will this be kind of refigured into, well, these games are going to be cross-released with, PS5, Xbox Series X, or it opens up some questions for me that way of how these games are being positioned. And now, are these games going to be a big feature on E3, whereas before they were supposed to be out before E3? Now are people going to be talking about these games again? Are we still going to hear about new things? Is this fall just going to be absolutely packed and absolutely crazy, or what? I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. So what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, and some releases are getting delayed a little bit. Like Final Fantasy VII just moved out about a month, so took it from a March timeframe when there's not really much happening down to April where there's more activity, and then we also got the Iron Man VR game got delayed until May now. It really opens the calendar up for games that probably were going to be, sacrificed to now get some more attention this, in the Feb through May timeframe. But it kind of shifts everything to the fall now. Cyberpunk is a huge game. What is that going to mean to the games that have yet to be announced that were coming this fall? And it's like, oops, sorry. You might now have to move out into, once again, January 2021, which is just, it's a cascading effect, right? So in a lot of ways, it makes me sad, but it's a good decision if it's to fix these games.
Right.
Quite honestly, I think Avengers, it doesn't exactly have the greatest groundswell for it right now, because I think a lot of people are nervous about it. Coming out when it's coming out potentially could give it more attention. Don't know. Could make it a better game. But to your point, with new systems coming out, do we just wait? Do we wait until it's on the better version is on these new systems we're going to get in the fall, knowing that forward compatibility is going to be a thing for first-party games to the most part? We don't know the tactic third-party games will have on those systems. We don't necessarily know that the new systems will actually play all of these games that are being released just a couple months before or sometime in this year. It may be a scenario where only first-party can. And the third party's like, no, we haven't optimized these games yet for the future. They will eventually get repackaged or re-released or given a patch. But yeah, it makes me wonder, and maybe we'll know more. Well, I mean, E3 I think is going to be the big time when we hear how these will be handled on the next gen, or maybe we don't. I don't know. That's the worrying, right?
Yeah, that's it, right? We've heard about these for the last couple of E3s, and we thought it was done. We thought the conversation was over, and the next thing was the game's release. So now that they're being pushed back, is this more opportunity to say, here's why we delayed this? Here's why we've put these back, and here's what we're going to be talking about, a little bit of updates, but also here's what's coming next for, whatever. So, what does E3 look like this year? Is it going to be a rehash of last year's E3 and an explanation of delays, or is it going to be focusing on the future and kind of leaving these games a little bit in the dust? Either way, it's a weird kind of proposition, and it's a weird kind of problem to be faced with going into a new generation. So it's definitely going to be an interesting year.
Yeah, and if you had planned to spend your gaming money on these games now, and then E3 happens and all of the new shiny things you didn't know were coming are coming there, could these games miss out? Because now I'm going to save my money for the potential Assassin's Creed game. Could I get, on the new Call of Duty game that's coming out, or any of the new next-gen titles where you're like, I didn't know that existed, but I'm going to buy that. And these games could be... yeah.
Yeah, that time of year, you're crunching down for holiday spending, and with a new console on the horizon, a lot of gamers are going to be saving their money where, if this game came out in, let's say, March or May or whatever, that, you can come up with money that at that time of year. But most people, I know I'm pretty bad for this. If I have money saved up for something and it gets delayed or I end up not getting it, it's not like I put that money away. I'm going to find something else to spend it on. So with these games being delayed, people have that money at that point saved up for the holidays, saved up for a new console. Like you said, saved up for a shiny new game that takes advantage of the new console that they just spent hundreds of dollars on. Are these games going to get a little bit left behind? So it's, man, the fall's, it's got to be a scary time for these developers. And you did mention, the backwards compatibility. So that might save it a bit. But again, if you're looking at something that's released for Xbox One or Xbox Series X, and the Xbox One, that game definitely works without anything, it's just put it in and it works. It's all good. Versus a game specifically made for the Series X, I'm going to go with the one that shows off my new hardware. I want that experience. So it's troubling. It's different for sure.
Yeah, one thing this did make it easier to map out my games I'll be playing at least through June is I don't have to focus and choose as much as I was thinking I was going to have to. Now I've essentially got a game a month or maybe 2 games a month I can focus on, which is even better. So that makes me feel better. I don't feel like I'm pressured to miss out something cool because I've got to play something else. So that makes me happy.
That's good. Yeah, there are definitely some upsides to games getting delayed, and I know I've been a little bit worried up until this point. But yeah, games being delayed just means that the developers see a problem, and if it's a big delay like this, it means a couple of things. So one, they've noticed a few problems. They don't want to release it as a broken experience. People are learning not to rush games out because that never works. It also means, hopefully, that the teams building these games are not experiencing crunch. They're not saying, well, it doesn't matter. You have to work 18-hour days without weekends and never see your families again in order to get this game out by May. No, screw it. We're delaying it until September. And that's like, these are big delays, right? So it's not something that any company is going to look at lightly. So those kind of business decisions, I think, are pretty good from a mature industry standpoint and a zero crunch time or mitigated crunch time kind of standpoint. So they are good things. And let's be honest, at least for Cyberpunk, people are pretty excited about that game. The Witcher set a ton of precedents for what that studio can do. And I don't think anyone's going to be skipping that game specifically for any single reason. The one I'm curious about is Avengers, because that's been lukewarm so far. The design standpoint, the animations, just all over the place. That game kind of has had a little bit of critical reception problems. So I'm wondering if the delay will fix that or if it's just going to delay the inevitable. We'll see. But I don't think anything's really going to knock Cyberpunk. It's going to be breathtaking.
No, the only thing that the Avengers loses by launching when it is now is Black Widow was around that time frame. So now they lose that kind of tie-in with Marvel, a Marvel big event happening, which says, hey, remember these franchises that you guys love so much? Here's a game now you can finally play. But we'll see how that plays out because people love that franchise and they haven't been able to play as the Avengers unless you owned a Switch in the last couple of years. So we shall see. Sure. Yeah. So next story, Mark, this has gotten a lot of hubbub, and I want us to take a different approach on this. And that's the announcement that Xbox going forward, at least for the next 2 years with the launch of the Series X, will be looking at their whole stable of hardware as a way to play all of their first party, like I said, at least for the next 2 years. That may not be true with third party, but at least this is how they're making sure that consumers that buy an Xbox One S today will have new games to play from Microsoft for at least the next 2 years.
Yeah, this is great news, and it's something that I think we've been talking about and hinting about and speculating about for a while. And it makes perfect sense because Xboxes and I mean modern game consoles are basically PCs. So you can play on a basic PC, you can play a game with the settings turned down, or you can get a souped up gaming PC and play with the settings turned up. And that's basically the approach that Xbox seems to be taking is, play this game on an Xbox Series S or an Xbox One S, sorry. And, that's basically going to be settings turned down. Play on an Xbox One X, it's going to be mid settings, and play on a Series X, and that's going to be top settings. Between all that kind of stuff, I think this is a great way to do it. If you just bought an Xbox One X this holiday season, you're not quite ready to jump in the Series X, you're not going to miss anything. Me with a kid on the way, I have no idea if I'm going to be able to afford new consoles in the fall. We'll see. I might try to save. I might be lucky. I have no idea, but at least I'm not going to miss anything, and I know I have a year or two before I really feel that pressure if I don't jump on it right away.
Yeah, I have a gaming. I have a gaming PC. Yeah. I have an Xbox
Yep.
Series or Xbox One S. So in all essence, I can continue to use fully utilize Game Pass for the next 2 years at least without having to feel like I'm going to miss out something because my PC gets outdated or my Xbox One S. So I'm kind of in that mindset that really the only reason I would update is because of really the primary unique features of Series X, which are the SSD for essentially reducing or eliminating load times, ray tracing, and maybe, the frame rate's locked in at 4K, 60 frames per second. That's really the only reason you would want to do that. And that's really the reason why a lot of people went to the Xbox One X, because they wanted the best of. That's typically there's always folks that want the newest, shiniest, and best. But, those people that have the Xbox One S could still play the same games. So it's not a big miss. Now, the only change to this is now going forward, the developers of these games that are going to have to deal with this type of strategy is they have to essentially develop for multiple sets of specs. So the launch Xbox One, which is different than the Xbox One S, which is different than the Xbox One X, which is different than the Series X, which is different than the PC. So the PC is just like, what graphics card, which motherboard, all those things. It's always never easy to develop for and quite honestly, consoles have never had to do that before. Really, they've always been had one set of specs. Switch played with, or Nintendo played with it a little bit back in the day with was it the change from the 3DS to the new 3DS? They bumped up the basically the frame rate and things like that, where there were some exclusive games you couldn't play the Super Nintendo games for some reason on the old, but you could have because all those the high tech in the Super Nintendo. But so the one thing that I would say is what are your thoughts about telling consumers the type of experience they will get on whatever box they get? So essentially saying PC has min specs, recommended specs, because that means you only be playing at 480p, a small screen, but you can still play it. It's so maybe would you say Xbox, the Xbox One /S, you get 720p 30 frame per second for Halo Infinite and so on and so forth. So you're not lying and saying you're going to get an awesome experience. You might get a subpar experience that might be really, this is what I'm paying for. I know Apple products will also say it only works on these platforms, and you just accept the type of performance on an app. But an app is different than a a high-end game like Halo Infinite, where it's that's not great. So I don't want it to be consumers feel that's okay, because essentially the Xbox One is at 1 teraflops, I think, around that number. The Xbox One X is 6, and then the Series X will do up to 12. I mean, that's a huge, huge difference.
Yeah. I am not a game developer by any means, but I hope that the tools that Microsoft provides to game developers allow it so it is more PC-like, where it's not basically developing 3 different games. You know what I mean? It is more of that PC style. Here's a couple of buttons we can turn on. So you're developing for whatever the highest tier there is at the time, and you're flicking those switches of, okay, obviously, there's no ray tracing. The faster SSD, I don't think that's something you have to develop for. I think that's just something that's built into the system architecture itself. So that's going to be something that third parties don't have to worry about. But again, the locking into the frame rates and this and that, I'm hoping that those will be things that they can turn on and optimize. You mentioned iOS games. I noticed this week that Fortnite just got 120 frames per second mode on the iPad Pro to take advantage of their super fast refresh rate. That's something that the consoles can't even do. That's something that's like a higher end PC build running. So this is on iPad Pro. That's wildly impressive for that kind of tablet. So I'm hoping that, if you look at a basic iPad, and I think customers and consumers in general are kind of starting to realize this, like you said, with iOS of, this game's going to run like this on a basic iPad or an older iPhone. And if you go all the way up to this, here's some of the benefits. And I think it's up to Microsoft to show videos, or just like you were saying with the Quest, here's a comparison. Here's what this is going to look like on an Xbox One, an Xbox One X, and a Series X. And here's, whether it's from the time you load up the game and how much quicker it loads up on the Series X to frame rates, graphic fidelity, it's going to be up to them to show that, here's 3 different video feeds and you're noticing what the differences are. And they can highlight that in a few different ways, but I think it's going to be up to them to sell it. And hopefully it's going to be very easy for the third-party developers to take advantage of basically the groundwork that Microsoft has laid out.
Yeah, and I think what they could do a tiered approach, and they do have to be careful with their marketing. They don't want to trick consumers saying, oh yeah, you can play anything, but your experience can be horrible. So they have to be a very way to say, they're talking about maybe the value and talk about, yeah, you'll get into performance, but if you want this type of performance, we recommend this type of box. If you just want a consumer-friendly, lower cost entry to give your family a wide variety of games that can still play and they can get into it, and when they're ready for the next jump, it's there, and those games will come with them. I think that's a way to do it. And maybe they say maybe in 2 years, yes, the support for Xbox One and One S are on the way, but Xbox Series One X still capable box and can still play these games for maybe 3 more years or whatever, and go with that. Because I think with the X only launching 3 years ago, I think that would be more heartburn about that system feeling like it goes away versus, a system that's 7 years old.
Yeah, I could 100% see them doing that of, okay, this game will no longer work on an Xbox One or an Xbox One S, but it will work on the Xbox One X and the Series X. I could see them cutting off that lower tier, just like saying, this game or this thing, this app won't work on an iPhone 5, but it will work on a 5S. I can see them starting to slowly cut off consoles that way as they keep moving on. So it's and of course, then we have xCloud throwing a massive wrench into this, and I think xCloud testing just opened up in Canada, so any Canadian people with an Android device, sadly I'm not one of them. I'm tempted to go out and get some kind of cheap Android device just to see if I can do this. But apparently it's opening up in Canada, or it has already opened up. So as they keep expanding that, this console line is going to be even more muddied of, this can run this natively, or if you use this as an xCloud device, it can maybe do a little bit more because it's based on the cloud. So the future is very interesting with Microsoft, because it's they're coming at it from so many different angles, and it's going to be less important of what type of box or device you have, and more what kind of service you have to get these games. It's a very interesting ecosystem.
Yeah, definitely. That does streaming definitely takes away the pressure of keeping up with the Joneses. It basically says you will get your experience is only limited by your data plan. So there you go.
Yeah. If my Xbox One X can do stuff with xCloud that kind of extends the life for another year or two or whatever, I'm going to see about the Series X. It's going to be an interesting thing, especially like I said, with a kid on the way. It's one of those decisions that I'm really going to think hard about.
Yeah, I think there's more discussions we'll have about that in the future, because it's a change in the industry that I'm excited about. I just hope it's not going to be too confusing or limiting of what the games can give us, because they're trying to support old hardware. But moving on to something that is definitely another change, that Sony is not coming to E3. This is their second no-show, and I think if Sony doesn't come for the launch of their next hardware system, I think this just means that they aren't ever coming back. Why would they need to? Unless they totally F it up and they're like, they admit the error of their ways, and they fail to get past the Sony bravado of the PS3.
Yeah. I'm really curious to see how this affects the PS5 console launch versus Xbox. I mean, this is essentially Xbox's E3 to lose, really. I mean, they're going to be losing to themselves if they screw this up. But Sony stepping back, if depending on when they make some announcements, this is Microsoft's opportunity to come up on stage and completely reverse how the last console announcements went. If Sony announces their price and this and that, like before E3, Microsoft can come up and say, yeah, we're matching that, or we're beating that, and here's how we're doing this, and here's how we're doing that. And it's a stage with so many eyes on it and so much mainstream media attention to it. It's a really interesting approach from PlayStation to see, if they can do all of this on their own and take that Nintendo Direct and owning their own platform kind of thing to the next level. I don't know. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. We'll see how it plays out for them. For me, it's crazy.
It kind of is, and if you think about it, Nintendo kind of really kicked this thing off because they did everything for the Switch outside of E3. They announced it outside of E3 in a weird event in Japan that was odd and confusing. Then they had their own, and then they essentially then just continued to launch videos and talk about it, and then launched it essentially 4 months later. So they kind of were there. And in Nintendo, yes, they are still at E3 in a booth, but they don't have an actual press conference anymore. They are recording somewhere else and just showing a video, where Microsoft does have a press conference at the actual location, but they have their presence actually not at the E3 campus anymore, which is kind of crazy. Mm-hmm. They have their own event elsewhere. So really, a lot of the big dogs aren't even actually at the E3 campus. They said it's kind of like a former shell of itself. And EA doesn't go there anymore. Activision Blizzard hasn't been there in years. Take-Two doesn't have a booth there. So I would say the largest players in the industry, excluding Microsoft and Nintendo, are largely gone there. The ones that really are going to be impacted by this is, say, the smaller studios, because they rely on the big dogs to bring in everybody through their booths.
Yeah, and the way I think Microsoft could really benefit from this is, again, the mom and pops, the regular people who don't pay attention to everything in the industry, but they know what E3 is. They've heard it, they see it in the mainstream media, and Microsoft, I'm sure, could announce this console in their own way whenever they want to. But again, you said that it's the third-party relationships. And the second that you start associating the next Call of Duty or the next big new third-party IP that's going to be launching on this next console generation, the second that those guys are up on the Microsoft stage, because there's no Sony stage, the more that people go on the show floor and see that on an Xbox rather than a PlayStation, it's just going to cement that idea that the Xbox is the place to play these games. And I think that's where Sony really won out last time was, you look at Call of Duty, they took that from Microsoft in the 360 era, and launched kind of PS4 with the Call of Duty name behind them. Destiny had big PlayStation tie-ins. That's one of the reasons I ended up with a PlayStation. I got the Destiny Edition PlayStation 4. If that mindset starts to switch and Sony just says, oh, we don't need you, we don't need anything else, we're doing our own thing, that can work for them. But they really have to come swinging with the first party stuff and give people a reason why, which is what worked for Nintendo, right? Breath of the Wild and all the other first party stuff. And then the Switch sold and people started paying attention to it. But if Xbox launches with the third party support and Sony doesn't have something to counter that, that's when it starts to be, like, why did you guys skip this? Why did you give Microsoft the opportunity to steal back Call of Duty, to steal back the next Destiny or the next big IP, whatever it is, to have whatever on their stage, right? Like all these third parties, it's the next Assassin's Creed, whatever it is. It's yeah, man, that's when it becomes like, Sony, you're just leaving this on the table.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting experience because Sony has said they're going to be essentially having a presence at hundreds of other areas and shows, right, and things like that. So I'm curious if this is really more along the lines of, and they essentially could have another PlayStation. I'm blanking on their little video presentations they have. PlayStation.
I want to say PlayStation Now, but I know that's not right. Let's just call it PlayStation Direct and have someone scream into their speakers.
Yes,
and
PlayStation Direct.
Frustrated. Yep.
Yes.
Someone is screeching at us right now. I know it.
Yes, and I don't know. This is a weird one for Sony because they have a lot to lose, a lot to win if they get this right. I think all of the rumors out there about what Xbox is going to do, they're obviously got the mind share right now with Game Pass and what's going to happen with their box. They're the leader right now in the hardware with Xbox One X in regards to performance. There's rumors that Xbox One X or Series X will be very premium, but there will be maybe another option. But it might not be launched with this box because the Xbox One X and the One S essentially act as that entry level. So maybe that's where people are getting thrown off. But maybe we get another box later. Who knows? Where Sony, we haven't heard that they'll take that approach. That it may just be a mid-tier box that is below, but maybe priced less. But maybe Sony's doing this because they want to have Xbox lay all their cards on the table. So when they do say something, they don't get one-upped. Sony is always that's why Sony did the video of this is how you share games on PlayStation.
Yep.
They had the price.
Yeah. And that's what I'm wondering is, depending on when Sony makes their announcements, do they want to lead the pack and jump on things before state of play? Is that what we're trying to think?
Yes, it is the state of play.
Okay, there we go. State of play. Are they going to do a state of play before E3 and say, here are all our cards, Microsoft, it's your move? Or are they going to wait and it's a tough business decision because do you want to be the first out of the gate and own that news cycle for a second? Or do you want to be playing catch up if E3 goes first? So it's definitely not an easy decision. I would not want to be in the Sony executive shoes. And right now they're at a bit of an executive turmoil point. So it's it's got to be a pretty trying time over at PlayStation right now.
Yeah, and they've been very quiet, so we're hoping when they finally do come out, they are going to be have a strong message that is very clear and understanding of what they're going to do. And I've heard rumors that February is the timing of something happening. They do have a Sony studio. They have a Sony theater in New York, and that's where they could have their own event and definitely invite press and make it a standalone event where all eyes are on Sony rather than one of the things with E3 is you've got a million people talking about a million different things, and the next thing is always gets remembered rather than the last thing,
Yep.
except for maybe the bombshell. So there's some things about having more news frequently than just all at once. But we shall see. We're in a change. Maybe E3 will turn into a fan expo with maybe a couple days of business, kind of like Gamescom. Maybe it doesn't need to exist anymore. Maybe PAX and those type of shows become like mini E3s. There's opportunities to do different things rather than what we've been doing for the last 20 years.
Absolutely. The industry's changed and it's going to keep on changing. So we'll see what E3 looks like in a couple of years, if it looks like anything at all.
Yeah, time check, Mark. Do you want to save this Alienware story for another day?
Yeah, sure. Let's put that on the back burner.
Okay, perfect. Okay, cool. I will put this underneath. But we will move on to the bonus round. Let me put this down here. So when I make the copy of another show, I'll just have this on for next time. Okay, all right. So that is the news for this week. But now we want to talk about, it's actually a carryover from news to a topic, and that is all about Smash Bros. They just had their most recent Direct, 35 minutes long, talking about the newest character and some of the changes coming to Smash. I kind of watched the 2-minute summary versus the 35-minute Direct. My son had already watched it and he didn't want to spoil it for me. I was totally confused because when people were talking about this aftermath, I really thought someone else was the new character. I got fooled though by a Mii costume. So Mark, what was the summary of the Smash Brothers event?
Well, the final Smash Brothers character for the 5 DLC characters from Pack 1 was finally released. The character is Byleth from Fire Emblem Three Houses. You can choose male or female Byleth. And they come with a few different weapons. But basically, a lot of people, myself included, are kind of like, really? Another Fire Emblem character? Now, I know some people who are Fire Emblem fans are very excited. My cousin was one of them, said it looks very cool. And it's not just another basic sword fighter, which is really, really neat. And they even made fun of that in the video itself. So they're very much aware. And honestly, they've given us 4 incredibly interesting and unexpected characters. Banjo-Kazooie, my personal favorite one from this bunch. But you know what? If they want to throw in a Fire Emblem character, I think they've earned that right at this point. So
yeah,
that's basically my thoughts on that. And Byleth might end up being really, really cool. I didn't know who Mirth was before he joined Smash Brothers, and now he's one of my favorite characters to play as. So Byleth could be a new favorite for me. Who knows? We'll see. Looked pretty cool in the demo. So then I'm curious which, I'm guessing it's going to be one of the Mii Fighter characters. And the Mii Fighter characters, for anyone not familiar with Smash Brothers, is you can basically make a Mii look like whatever you want. You can make it look like yourself or any person, thing, whatever. But in Smash Brothers, they come with costumes, basically. So you can get costumes from various different games, from a lot of Nintendo stuff. And they've been putting in third parties all throughout the release of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. We got some new ones. Todd, do you want to talk about a couple of the new ones, or which one fooled you, and then we'll go
Sure. So yeah, when people were talking about this release, I didn't get to watch it, so I had no context to what was happening. And I looked, and I see Cuphead. And I'm holy cow, he's the new Smash Fighter. That is so awesome. I love it because to your point, the Mii Fighter packs and the costumes, they typically still look like a Mii. But in this case, Cuphead does not look like a Mii. He looks like Cuphead. No. Weird.
Yeah. So the other ones, a couple of Mega Man costumes, Altair from Assassin's Creed, which I was a big fan of. Like you said, and the Rabbids characters, but like you said, most of them look like.
Do they fart, Mark? Do they do something weird? Do they take selfies? What's their ability?
No, they don't seem to do anything weird. It actually, I don't even think it's a full costume for the Rabbids. I think it's just a hat, a mask, that goes over the head of the Mii character. So it's not even a full suit for them, which is slightly disappointing. But Yeah, Cuphead looks legit like Cuphead, which is crazy. It's a for the gunner Mii. So there are three type of Mii's: a brawler, which uses his fists, a sword fighter that obviously uses a sword, and a gunner that uses guns to fight. So the Cuphead one is specifically for the gunners. And it looks really cool and comes with a song, which most of the Mii fighters do not come with.
Yeah, I really think this is. I mean, I like this aspect of it. The Fire Emblem character, it may surprise me, just like a lot of the other characters that were in this pack. That I didn't think I'd like Terry Bogard, but he's kind of fun to play with. The character from Dragon Quest. He's pretty cool as well. Hero. So maybe this character will be awesome. I don't know. I think it feels like. It seems like Fire Emblem has become this really ridiculously like overwhelming product from Nintendo that I feel like a lot of people that aren't into Fire Emblem are kind of feel like, do you hate other franchises in Nintendo?
Yeah, it's always one of those shocking things because I'm not really into the series myself, but then when you hear how much the mobile Fire Emblem game made and hear how much the sales are and see how popular the characters are in Smash, it's like, wow, this is a segment that I'm just missing. And maybe it's something like Dota or League of Legends that just because I don't pay attention to it doesn't mean that there aren't like a billion people who play and watch those games and crazy esports tournaments and celebrity esports players that I just don't know of because I'm not in that kind of thing. It's not quite the same with Fire Emblem because it's still a Nintendo franchise, but that's kind of how I feel sometimes of like, oh, this is an immensely popular character that I have no idea about. So yeah, it's it is what it is.
Yeah, and I think if you don't, I mean, it's $25 for the full pack of 5 that have already, come out before this comes out. I think at the end of the month, that wraps up the whole pack. I think it's $6 each if you buy them separately, which we did for some reason. My son's he's so impatient, he just buys them when they come out rather than buy the pack. So, but yeah, so this will wrap this up. But we are getting another character pack of 6 coming, and I said for the next 2 years. Is this next pack gonna cover the next 2 years, or is it only another 12 months?
No, all challenger packs will be released by December 31st, 2021.
Okay, so this is essentially 2 years.
Almost 2 full years, yeah. So if you pre-order this one, so this may sell your son on it, you get a Breath of the Wild Ancient Soldier outfit for, again, a Mii character. But I'm kind of curious. We're getting 6 new characters. What are your top choices for 6 characters that you'd like to see in Challenger Pack 2?
Excellent. Okay, let's go from our bottom, Mark. We'll go with number 6. Do you have one for us?
See, I didn't sort mine in any specific order, but I will start at the bottom of my list, again, in no particular order, Ratchet and Clank. I think PlayStation exclusive. I think PlayStation needs a little bit of love. Nintendo and Microsoft have been getting along so well. I'd love to see Ratchet and Clank. I could have put like Jak and Daxter on this. Very, in my mind, interchangeable. I was just trying to find a PlayStation exclusive character to fit into this. I went with Ratchet and Clank because they've had a game more recently, I believe. And for me, they were the first ones to come out. But Jak and Daxter I'd be just as happy with. But Ratchet and Clank for me, number 6.
Oh, nice. So I'm going to start off with an obvious one, but I just still think it makes perfect sense. That is Dante from Devil May Cry. You can obviously have a, what is it? The mirror fighter or whatever that looks like him. He can be Virgil if you want. It plays where he uses weapons, he uses firearms, he uses weapons, he has an alternate mode. His smash would be fantastic. I think Dante's a perfect fit, and those games have been on Nintendo, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, for sure. You know what? I'm going to change this one because I had something written down, and I'm looking at my GameCube game collection and instantly changing my mind. So I'm gonna slightly cheat a little bit by telling you what I did have for number 5, which was Ring Fit Adventure Person.
Love it.
because I think Nintendo would do that. I think it's going to be another one of those. No, we want a third party character. We want someone else from something else. Like the person I'm actually going to go with. But I could see them going with Ring Fit Adventure, but I would prefer them to go with Beautiful Joe, because I'm looking at Beautiful Joe right now in my GameCube collection. So Beautiful Joe for me would be amazing.
That's my number one, Mark. So spoilers, but I totally agree. I totally agree. He is so awesome, and Capcom had such a unique relationship. What was it, the Capcom 4, the Capcom 5, or whatever? All those games that were coming to GameCube. We're going to save the GameCube, and Beautiful Joe was such a cool series, and it's owned by. Is it owned by Capcom, or is it owned by like that studio that Capcom was running through? Maybe, who knows? But bring it back.
Yep, 100%. Okay, well, if that's your number one, I'll stick with Ring Fit Adventure.
I love it though.
So what else do you have on your list? Yeah.
It's not a series I love, but it just seems like it's a big missed opportunity. Especially when I think maybe a sequel will get made on this generation of Switch, and that's ARMS. I mean, I don't know which ARMS person, but an ARMS person makes a lot of sense because it's a fighting character. The way the arms move, a lot of their power-ups and everything just would play out. I think those characters, the only thing I didn't like was playing the game, but I think everything else about it I thought was really cool.
Yeah. You know what? I'll throw out Ribbon Girl for a pick for this one, just because I think we need more girls in Smash. But, it could be Ribbon Girl and Springman. That just it's just a palette swap, like you said, but I love that idea.
Yeah, it's about time, and I think if they really, it sold it well enough that I think they could bring out another game to really highlight, because they didn't do any DLC. They I think there's maybe an opportunity to give that game some more life and make some changes to it.
Absolutely. Yep, for sure. Next one on my list. Funny enough, you kind of hinted at this earlier, taking selfies. I have Rabid Peach.
Oh my goodness.
Specifically Rabid Peach. The other ones, you can Rabid Mario, Rabid Yoshi, whatever, leave them there. Rabid Peach had so much personality. She was so wacky. She stood out as a highlight of that game for me, just because she was just this narcissistic selfie-taking nut bar that, like, oh man, I don't know. She was so funny. It just I want to see that in Smash Brothers. I want to see their take on her final smash and moveset and everything else. But Rabid Peach for me is my next choice, number 4.
When you say it, makes it sound like she is rabid and she needs to get is that the problem? They all have rabies. Is that why they're so crazy, Mark?
Could be. It could be. I think you might have just solved that series. What's going on with all those?
So it's really a horror story like Cujo. Yeah.
That's it. What's your number 4?
My number 4 is going way back, but I think this game really needs a retake on it, and I think this could be the way you do that. And that's King Wart from Super Mario Brothers 2, or Doki Doki Panic.
Yes.
I mean, he's a big bad. He does kind of look like what's his name? The villain from Donkey Kong.
King K. Rool, yeah.
He does kind of look like it. Maybe that was maybe an influence, but I think it would be awesome. I really loved Super Mario Brothers 2, all the things it brought to the table, and maybe it's then, we've got a pack for Mario Maker with the Super Mario Brothers 2 aesthetic.
Yeah, I love that. I love especially where they have seemed to go way back in gaming history for a decent amount of these game characters so far. From Pack 1, I could see them doing something wacky like that and taking something way out of left field. I like that idea.
Perfect. What's your number 3?
Number 3 is no surprise to anyone that listens to this show, but I'm going to say Fortnite. So again, not sure which character. Maybe it's a few different ones like Hero, where each different color is basically a different take on the character. But basically, yeah, you could pick even some of the generic ones that, like, if you don't buy a skin, you still get a few of these characters, or you could get a few of the more premium skin-looking characters. But I think it could be a cool moveset with a pickaxe and a couple of different guns and a few different weapons like that from the game. And I think it's very recognizable especially, with modern gaming how it is. So I think that'd be a cool addition.
Wow. Mark, you could have just taken up a notch and just say it's Ninja. You got a skin,
yes.
right?
Yes. Yeah, the ton of ninja skins. I was playing some Fortnite last night, and there were an overwhelming amount of ninja skins running around. So I shot Ninja in the face a few hundred times last night.
And that, as most people should. He deserves it. No, just kidding.
Right.
Nice guy.
Yeah. It felt weird shooting a real person. Like before, they've had, I guess, we've had Batman and Star-Lord, Black Widow, even Marshmallow. And they're kind of, real people, or you can picture people who have played those characters and stuff like that. But when it's a real person and it's Ninja running at you and you shotgun him in the face, it's like, okay, cool. I just murdered a real dude that I've watched on Mixer. That's it kind of feels strange.
Well, at least you probably felt bad, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, there you go. Then that's better. Wow. My next pick, I kind of got a conundrum because I realized I had another idea. So maybe I'm going to use that one because I think a lot of people, because I was going to say Resident Evil character because I think a lot of people have like Leon or something. I think that could work with the guns, but he's very similar to like Snake, Solid Snake, in a way he uses weapons and things like that. Maybe, his moveset. But I'm going to go with a pivot, and this is tribute to Bobby Pauls, and that is I'm going to go with King Hippo from Punch-Out.
Ooh, another one from Nintendo's past. I love that.
Nobody, except for Little Mac, that's it.
Yep.
We need more racist fighting characters, like Pizza Pasta from Napoli, Italy. Come on, Mark. Yes.
Yeah, that's I love that. What was your other choice? What were you going to change it to?
It was going to be Leon from Resident Evil because I love him.
Oh, right. Yes.
He does those like weird suplexes. Plus, he does just his weapons and things like that.
Right. Okay.
And then you could have.
I was going to say Leon or Claire or someone else. But okay, Leon. Yeah. Okay, good choice there for both picks, I think.
Yeah. So sorry, 2 for 1.
Yeah. My next one, kind of similar actually to picking someone from Resident Evil, but just with the guns and the moveset, I think Lara Croft. Ooh. I think if you're looking for gaming mascots, staples in gaming history, we've got a lot of them in Smash already, but Lara Croft is not one of them, sadly. And again, I think we could use some more female fighters. And I would love to see the new style Lara Croft as a default, but I would love to see you be able to switch to the blocky original look as well as a palette swap.
And is her assist trophy like a big T-Rex?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And there has not been a Tomb Raider game on Switch yet, so that would be the perfect time to bring out like the Lara Croft collection of the most recent games, because I think you could pare those down to play on Switch and people would love those.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think that'd be great.
So that leads us into my number 2, which is it kind of ties into my number 1, which was Voodoo Joe. My number 2, though, was Wonderful 101. This is a series of characters that just are like Power Rangers that are weird and wacky, and there's so many of them. The interface with that game, and Voodoo Joe feels like part of that universe as well. Mm-hmm. And the fact that game was, I think, a really overlooked game on Wii U. The Wii U port to Switch with these characters would be perfect.
I agree. That's a fantastic choice, and I would love to see that game show up on Switch in some capacity. But I'd also love to see, Wonderful 101. I think could be a really interesting fighter, and could be something kind of similar to Pikmin, where maybe there's a few different kind of things, and then for the the 101, that's the final smash or something like that. Man, that is so cool. Yeah, it's a mix between maybe Pikmin or like the Pokemon trainer, where you could swap out from a couple of different characters with different powers or different abilities. One's kind of bigger and stronger, the other's smaller and faster or something. Oh, that's such a cool character with so many possibilities. Really, really cool. So I am on number 1 right now. and it's a character that I have a statue of over on my left right now, and I'm looking at it, and he's looking right back at me. Of course, I'm talking about Adam West's Batman.
Yes.
No, just
Oh,
joking. Although
oh man. Oh my goodness. But they did say no video. No, they always have to be just video game characters, right? So
yes,
sorry,
sadly
no super.
they specified that. I do have an Adam West stuffed action figure next to me, but he is just next to the character that I'm actually thinking of, which is Master Chief. I think it's Chief's time to join Smash. I think that'd be awesome. I don't think I have to explain why or anything else. I think, but I think that'd be a great addition. Again, Microsoft and Nintendo get along pretty well recently, and I think Chief could bring some badassness to Smash. And I'm tempted to say Doom Guy or something. I'm looking at little Psycho Fun Pop from Borderlands in front of me as well. But I think Chief is the best choice if you're going to go for I'm also there's BJ Blazkowicz there from Wolfenstein. I'm just like looking around my room and seeing all these great characters, but I think if you're going to go for a mature franchise, Chief is the one to go with.
I think that's a great pick, but Doom Guy, I like that as well. So I think having a Space Marine representing the Smash pack would be really fun. So I think they've got 12 now, 12 to 14 picks that they can choose from. I'm assuming they will just go with those.
I think so. I think that's pretty fair to assume that the next 4 years, they'll take one from each of us and make the first 6, and then they'll say, okay, we've got Challenger Pack 3. We're going to go with the rest of their suggestions. I think that's a no-brainer. Yeah, and I was super tempted when I was first thinking about this. Who else I'd like to see in Smash leading up to the reveal that we got with Byleth. But I was thinking about someone from the Assassin's Creed franchise. So I'm happy we got Altair as a Mii skin, but I'd love to see Ezio or Edward Kenway or someone. Or I was just thinking Assassin or something like that. Again, with swappable skins, so you could pick which assassin you wanted to be. They'd all have the same kind of moveset, whatever. But that was one of my top choices. Sadly, kind of got knocked off this list because I think it seems like when they go with a Mii fighter skin, that's kind of their way of saying,
that's it.
Okay, cool. We've acknowledged this character, but we're kind of moving on. So sadly, I don't think we'll get a proper Cuphead. I don't think we'll get a proper Assassin's Creed, so I have to settle with that. But I think our lists are pretty good.
I think so too. So, folks, if you want to tell us what your picks are for your Smash Pack 2, let us know, and you can do that by telling us on Twitter at Toxtra, at the Canardian. You can also reach out to us on the Facebook group and the page if you have comments there about anything else on the show, or call the hotline 872-225-2496. 3 minutes or less. Give us your hot take, an opinion, or review, or why you think Mark and I are the best. So, folks, that is it this week. Went a little bit long, but we had a lot to talk about, and we cannot wait until our next show because we're going to have some really cool guests this year. It's going to be a lot of fun. Co-op mode is going to be going a lot of interesting directions this year, so I cannot wait. So thank you, Mark, for being on. As always, it's been a pleasure, buddy.
Always fun. Yeah. Always great to be on. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to some of the stuff we have lined up. So stay tuned.
Yes. And remember, co-op mode, it's always better to game together.
keep holding on until we break the spell. Let the truth